Hello and welcome to the Local Anxiety Podcast. My name is James Kasha, and this week we're going to talk about perspective. This is my introduction. The first one I shot, a little bit of a mess that's going on the cutting room floor. But this one I feel good about. Anyway, we're going to jump in just a moment, but first I just want to say, please jump on the YouTube train a little bit here. Give me a little bit of a hand, maybe subscribe, tell a little bit of people about it, and leave a like and a comment. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. Perspective. Now you may be asking yourself, well, how does that apply to me? Or how do I go about talking about perspective in my daily life? There's so many times that we let a day go by that we don't even really reflect on it. We kind of just want it to be over. We just say, well, that's it for that day. Go home, sit down, relax, unwind, and try not to think about what just transpired about that day. Maybe it's something you didn't want to talk about or think about. Or it just be you're stuck in a job that you're just going through the paces with right now. It could be anything, relationships, jobs, projects you haven't started. There could be a million things of what distract you from what's important. I know for me personally, for the longest time, I would just kind of come home, sit down, flip on the TV, and just try and escape. For most of my life, I've been trying to escape a lot of things, whether that be from responsibilities, self-reflections, things that I need to work on. And often my tool response would be just to play games or watch TV. Because they were living a different life. They were experiencing something different on the TV. Those characters that we love so much. I suffer from always trying to live through other people's life. Being like, well, that person is doing all the things that I want to do. I'm just too scared to do it. So I enjoy those character studies. That's the way to keep me, I guess, somewhat satisfied, but that's not going to cut it anymore. That's kind of why I started this whole thing. I mean, this is the whole reason why I'm getting into this, is to try to step out of my comfort zone and stop living through characters that don't even exist. There's nothing wrong with enjoying a movie here and there and talking about your favorite characters, but don't let that become your main source of life by living through them. And this is what I'm doing. I'm breaking the cycle. And this is just the introduction to it. Now, I'm probably going to fall back a few times, but there's people around me that are going to kick me and just put me right back on track. That being said, also remember to silence your phone when you're about to start a video. So later on, I'm going to be pulling up my phone and I'm going to read you guys something. Now, you're going to have to suffer through it a little bit because my reading is not the best, but that's something I'm going to be working on. That's another goal that I'm setting for myself, is to learn to be a better narrator, because I love narration in film. That's something that I've always enjoyed. Some of my favorite parts of a movie is actually just something rolling B-roll and just having someone's magical voice explain what's happening. So that being said, let's go back onto the topic that is at hand this week, is perspective. Now, that is something that has come in time, and I kind of still know that I've only know this much. But understand, there was a time where I didn't know nothing. So I've learned a few things along the way, and I kind of like to describe perspective for me personally in an analogy that I thought of. My mind creates crazy pictures all the time. So these are one of the ones that's kind of stuck. So whenever I talk about my own journey with perspective, I kind of explain it in this kind of way. So I frame it as that you're in a huge watchtower that has about 1 million different windows. And so when you're young, almost all those windows are closed. And you get to maybe stick your fingers on that windowsill and drag yourself up just so your eye line is able to see outside that crack in that window. And your field of view is maybe a bit of grass. And that's it. You don't get to see the full picture when you're younger. But that's the whole point. In a lot of ways, it depends on how you're raised. In my case, I was sheltered from a bigger field of view, from more perspective. As I got older, I got bigger. I was able to kind of rip off some of the covers off of those windows and start peering out. But there's times in my life where I didn't want perspective. I didn't want a bigger field of view. So I think I found myself batting some wood and some nail on some of those windows to kind of hide from more perspective and more of a field of view that was probably going to be challenging or hard. So I'm happy to say that I've been able to slowly open more of those windows to start getting a better view on life. Not only can I see the grass, but now I can see the horizon, maybe even a mountain. I'm hoping for more. Right now I'm probably only facing north. I hope to do a 360 eventually, and the thing is, I mean, we're stuck on this earth that we have only a limited amount of time. We're not all going to see through every single window. But the way I've seen it is that the best way to go about opening more of those windows to see more is to have a good attitude and stay positive and put the time in and mix those things together. Be willing to learn, willing to challenge yourself, and to be challenged. So that when you start pulling out those windows, it's not painful anymore. It's exciting. There's something new there that you haven't seen. A different perspective. And guess what? Once those windows are open, you can start going back to those old windows. And you get to see more of that image now. That little window you saw as a kid, only seeing a little bit of the picture, and now you're going to see much more. And so all those old memories that plague us, we can now look back through that window again from that time and be like, oh, you know what? I see way more of that now. And it doesn't have that same impact. That's the gift that comes from perspective, is widen your scope, widen your field of view. So when things get rough, you can remember that you've seen more and you can handle it better based on the knowledge you've acquired. But that comes through work. That comes through hard work. It comes through sacrificing, becoming better, admitting your flaws, and wanting to learn from them. So that's just a small little taste of my analogy that I like to use. And God willing, more windows will open for me so I can see more of the picture. So I came across this amazing writing this person did. It was an unknown author. And he talked about perspective, especially for this time that we're going through right now. And like I said, I'd rather leave a lot of the politics and things to the people that are more educated on that matter. But this article struck a chord with me. So I kind of want to share it with you guys. And now you get to bear through me reading to you when you can easily read it yourself. But this is a selfish exercise. So give me 1 second. I'll grab my phone here. All right, we're ready. I'm going to try to be more ready. For a small amount of perspective at this moment. Imagine you were an American born in 1900. When you were 14, World War I starts and ends on your 18th birthday, with 22 million people killed. Later in the year, a Spanish flu epidemic hits the planet and runs until you are 20. 50 million people die from it in those 2 years. Yes, 50 million. When you were 29, the Great Depression begins. Unemployment hits 25%. Global GDP drops 27%. That runs until you were 33. The country nearly collapses along with the world economy. When you turn 39, World War II starts. You aren't even over the hill yet. When you're 41, the United States is fully pulled into World War II. Between your 39th and 45th birthday, 75 million people perish in the war, and the Holocaust kills 6 million. At 52, the Korean War starts and 5 million perish. At 64, the Vietnam War begins, and it doesn't end for many years. 4 million people die in that conflict. Approaching your 62nd birthday, you have the Cuban Missile Crisis, a tipping point in the Cold War. Life on our planet, as we knew it, could well have ended. Great leaders prevented that from happening. Thank God. As you turn 75, the Vietnam War finally ends. Think of everyone on the planet born in 1900. How do you all survive all that? A kid in 1985, the year I was born, didn't think their 85-year-old grandparent understood how hard school was. Yet those grandparents and now great-grandparents survived through everything listed above. Perspective is an amazing art. Let's all try and keep things in perspective. Let's be smart, help each other out, and we will get through all this. In the history of the world, there has never been a storm that has lasted. This too shall pass. Unknown author. I personally loved that. It was a great read. I don't do much reading. I need to read more. But that one spoke to me. And thank God it was short. It definitely kept my attention. Those are one of those things that once I start reading it, it's like, oh, whoa, this is going somewhere. You know, I mean, to encompass all that in that span of over 100 years, and to see what other generations had to go through and endure. We are now going through our own chaos right now. But it's not the end. We can take from this time. We can learn from it. And we can teach from it. Try and turn these things into a gift for your own life. Let's look at it from a different point of view. Let's gain some more perspective together. That concludes this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And I hope to find more interesting and exciting things to share with you guys that I noticed and wax poetically a little bit with it. That being said, have a good week. You know what I find helpful? Is when you get gas in the middle of something. I just wanted to film a nice little outro, something to say, thanks for listening, but then I had to burp. Of course, now I've got to edit that out, which is totally fine. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. I really enjoyed doing this one, to be honest with you. I'm trying to get better at reading out loud. It was something I really struggle with, but I want to get better. I want to be able to eventually narrate some of my videos with some good clarity. Anyway, that being said, have a good week.